Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremy, and today I want to be discussing some of the different elements that we can be doing inside of our books as we write or read, different things that we experience. And one of the big things that I think is interesting and unique is finding found documents inside of a story. Now, this can be a big range of how this works and how this is applied into a story. But essentially, what we have in a lot of our current story styles is something like this awesome book by Terry Brooks that essentially is written in prose, right? Just standard pages, you going through and being told the story. And this is a really, really common style for a lot of fantasy books, novels, things like that in the current era. Now, this is not necessarily how stories were told throughout history. One of the major ways that we got a lot of stories told to us in a format and style was something called the epistolary form, and that is essentially something like Dracula. Now, inside of Dracula, what we have are a bunch of journals. Look, if you look at it, it looks basic, standard prose type of an experience, but these are all recorded journals, newspaper articles, and things like that in order to be able to come together to tell the story. And that is something that was super popular in the era that this was written before and has been explored throughout like all of recorded writing history. But this is something that we don't really see as often anymore. One of the things that we do see far more often is something like we see in Brandon Sanderson's The Way of Kings, where we have a character that is an artist, and we get things like these cool sketches inside of the book, and these are supposed to be the characters' records, recordings, and things, and that's being inserted into the story as an added immersive experience for that story. And this is something that I'm talking about, which is found documents, found objects, found things like that inside of the universe. And these could be maps, these could be records, these could be different type of documents that are added into the book in order to add a little bit of immersion into that experience and into that world. I've seen that done in other ways where there's like a little bit of a journal entry or something where it's regular prose and that one page is done in a different font or different style in order to be able to emphasize that it's coming from a different source than the regular third person point of view that we're getting in through the traditional prose writing. Now, this is an interesting book that I think is absolutely fascinating. Illuminate, which is a story that is a futuristic sci-fi, really interesting, but I'm not really diving into that aspect of it, just the cool aspect of the immersion that they do with this being told all in found documents, and that is back towards that epistolary form that we talked about earlier inside of things like Dracula. But it's done in a very different way. Every single page is going to look a little bit different with redacted documents, things like that. And so you have a lot of like normal looking things, but then you also have pages that are like totally different colors, formatted in different formats. I think some of those things are really, really interesting. And then we have things like pages with only a couple of words on it that adds emphasis and changes that, or where they're creating shapes out of the dialogue, the text. There's another one that does that. I just think that that is so incredibly unique and interesting. And there are ways that we're able to be telling stories through using prose when it's best, when it's most effective. And I think that that's a fantastic thing to be doing. But my point here is that your stories that you're creating or that you're reading can be done in different formats, different styles. And one of those things that we can be doing is inserting found documents of that world into the book, whether that's a art piece that's created by a character like we saw in Way of Kings, different documents like we see in Illumina. All of these things can come together to help build that story, to immerse the reader, and that is something that is really, really awesome that writers can be doing inside of their stories. And for readers, it's a really cool experience. So that's a thought I have for you guys today about books, about storytelling, and about being able to do things other than just the straight up traditional prose, which is fine, which is fantastic, and maybe that story that you're working on requires, but maybe the things that you're doing could be benefited by adding a little extra or something new or unique into the story. Thank you guys so much for watching. Put your thoughts or comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas. Also, you can find more content by me on places like Instagram or Facebook at Nerd Morning. Also, I have a gaming channel here on YouTube where I do game streams and hang out with people, have questions answered, conversations had, things like that. And that's at the YouTube channel Nerd Morning Gaming. So check that out as well. Thank you guys so much again for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.